Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chillin and Millin. This is the Magic Podcast hosted by three blokes who are going insane for two reasons. Number one, we've all been stuck inside for 6 weeks. And number two, we're all having to deal with Companion in our different formats, and it's driving us all insane.
Lewis is so broken and limited. I love it and hate it at the same time.
The thing is, I've been playing a lot of Draft at the moment, and I've yet to see a Draft deck actually be able to companion a companion.
Really?
So yeah, I've not seen that yet.
Oh, I managed to do it first time.
Oh, which one did you do?
Umori.
Oh, you just stuck all creatures in?
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, that would make sense.
I've seen like a couple of people who managed to do it. Like I think the easiest one is like the one who doesn't want any double mana symbols.
Yeah, because you just go a load of single mana symbols.
Or you can do it in pairs. So if you have like black white, that's also fine.
True. I think potentially the one the fat hippo that only cares about 3 drops or more would probably be relatively easy.
That seems bad in limited. I'm not gonna lie.
Probably. I know that when I was playing it in limit, the last draft I did 5 color whatever, 5 color chaff or whatever you want to call it.
5 color good stuff.
5 color. It wasn't good stuff. It was 5 color.
5 color medium stuff.
5 color chaff. What ended up happening is I had what I can't even remember what to. I think I was in green red at the beginning of the At the beginning, I went through the entire first pack. I was in green red, and out of nowhere, my second rare was a 3 color mutate creature, but it was red, black, white.
Oh, that's painful.
And I'm like, okay, well, do I ignore my first pack, ignore this creature, or go 4 to 5 color? And I decided the sensible option of going 4 to 5 color.
I mean, yeah, you get busted limited decks that are 5 color.
It turns out that in a format where you've got tri-lands, which I happen to also pull one, and a load of artifacts that tap for 3 colors, it's surprisingly easy to do.
Those tri-colored rocks, common or uncommon?
I think they're uncommon.
Yeah, and the lands are rares.
I still managed to get like 3 or 4 of them.
They don't seem like a high pick.
Well, most people don't want them, because if you're in like 3 colors and a rock comes around which isn't your 3 colors, most people are just going to get rid of it. When you're the 5 color deck, you're sweeping that up. Like, that is your stuff now.
To be fair, I think the deck to force that I've seen in draft that I think a lot of people will be forcing is like the 14 land cycling deck that's been doing insanely well. And you don't want those like 3 color mana rocks in there because the cycling cost is too great.
Yeah,
you want like 1 and 2 mana.
It's 2 mana for cycling. The cycling deck's like, oh, that's way too much for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, who are we?
I'm Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hello. Nice to meet you all. I do a lot of random shenanigans with cardboard that is very fun. And I usually play Commander and silly formats.
I'm Will. I am the podcast's L1 judge, and I am mainly focused on kind of eternal formats. So I like Modern and Pioneer and Canadian Highlander. And this week I have been crying over the 200-page rules document that came out with this set.
Does it turn out that Companion and Mutate are real bastards?
Yeah. So Companion's actually fine. Mechanically, it's a bit hard to get your head around, but mechanically it's fine. And there's not a lot of corner cases. Like we said before, it basically acts like wishes. It's Mutate.
I would say with Companion, it probably also really helps that you can only play it online at the moment, which means that if you're in arena or online, if something wants to be your companion, you have to hit it will tell you if you have not hit the requirement.
Yeah. Unless you're a Gruder who had to be emergency banned on Magic Online.
Because
it didn't interact with Leyline of the Void properly.
Yeah, but stop full life cards library to the graveyard. In my defense, when I read that, I went, well, if they're exiled, it doesn't say they have to be in the graveyard.
No, it doesn't. That's precisely the point. It cares about where they came from, not where they go.
Yeah.
So it gets through Leyline of the Void, but doesn't get through a couple of other things. And Leyline of the Void was actually making it so you couldn't pick anything, and there was a whole thing. Also, it wasn't showing up that like deck registration wasn't working properly, so like it would be telling you that it's illegal when it is legal. There was a whole thing, but it's not a companion that's been making me hurt. It's been Mutate.
I remember when I said that Mutate was too complicated for its own good. You were like, nah, it's fine. It's the weird corner cases. How many weird corner cases are there?
Many. I'm not gonna lie. But if you want to play this with phasing, you can figure it out yourself, quite frankly.
I've seen maybe 2 Mutate cards actually see play, but any which way. I'm Hugh, by the way. I'm the podcast's dead horse, in that I'm constantly being beaten and I hold the podcast together. You're right, that was both a beating a dead horse and a glue joke.
Oh, that's what it was about. Didn't get the second half.
I don't know what came over me there, I'll be honest. So in today's podcast, as you can tell, we've all been playing some Ikoria cards, or we've at least been playing against some Ikoria cards. And so what we thought we'd do is we'd come together, we do as we did for the previous set of Theros, bring a single card. To be fair, I broke the rules last time and brought 2. I haven't done this time. And talk about it. Talk about why we like it, why we want to play it, why we are playing it, or why it's worth talking about. We're going to start with Sam, who has brought Weirdly a Golgari card, which is not a color combination I expected of you.
No, neither. I was thinking about the Rakdos card, the Rakdos Companion, but this one I think is just cooler.
I swear to God, the Rakdos Companion, I genuinely forgot it existed.
It's the one where you can only play like odds converted mana costs, right?
I think and then it does so.
It does Summit.
I honestly cannot remember.
It doubles damage, I think.
I was looking at pictures of the Ikoria set, saw its picture, and that was the first time in like 2 weeks my brain went, oh yeah, the Rakdos Companion.
I think it's actually made into I think it's been a fairly successful or maybe it hasn't been a successful standard deck. I saw someone playing it.
There's been a couple of standard decks with it. I stupidly made a folly into Magic Arena out of boredom, and I played against it a couple of times.
One of us.
Yeah, literally.
Don't get me wrong. I immediately I had to retreat back to Magic Online because I felt dirty and I felt some non-rotating formats that aren't shit.
Dab. Anyway, Sam, what is this Golgari card you're enjoying?
So the Golgari card is Umori the Collector. It's 2 Golgari hybrid for a 4/5. And each non-land card in your starting deck has to share a card type. So they all have to be creatures or enchantments or instants or sorceries for it to be your companion. And then when it ETBs, choose a card type. Spells of the chosen type cost 1 less. 1 generic less. It's pretty sweet.
Dude, imagine the person who decides they want to try and make that with just sorceries.
I really want to try it. I think it would be so fun.
Like just like you play black, green, blue, and you just play an entire deck of counter spells and bounce spells, and you just play Omori beats. It's just that goes back to your hand, that gets countered, smack you for 4, repeat.
Well, that might be a legit thing though, right? You play a green, black, blue. You play a Sultai control deck somewhere. You play all instants, let's say, because you're playing black. You can play kill spells and stuff you don't need, like sorceries. And then, your win con is either beating with this or beating with manlands.
To be fair, yeah, manlands do still work.
Yeah. That could be quite a cool idea.
Copyrighted, by the way.
Yeah.
Hugh's new standard deck.
Mate, we'll talk about my standard deck later.
Oh, good God. So Sam, what are you excited to play this in then?
I'm excited to play it in Commander.
Obviously.
Okay.
Obviously.
Sam, what are you excited to play it in as the audience waits with bated breath?
Yeah.
You know in bingo how in the middle of the bingo card it has a free slot? If we did Chillin and Millin bingo, instead of having a free slot, it would just be the word commander.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it's essentially a free slot.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to play it in Commander. I don't think it's going to be. I feel like it's going to see playing creature decks because I don't think it's going to be viable outside of creature decks. But I'm going to be excited to try and do some kind of stupid instants or enchantments deck with it. So
this is actually really interesting, right? So I just need to confirm with you that like Commander works how I think it works. So when you start shuffling up a Commander game, right? You reveal your commander from your deck and put it in the command zone, right? So it is actually still part of your deck.
I think that's right, yeah.
Yes. So your commander will still have to obey the restrictions for this to be your 101st card in Commander, right?
Oh, yes.
So if you wanted to do all artifacts, you'd have to have an artifact.
You'd have to have an artifact yeah.
Or an
enchantment creature.
Oh my god! Imagine
an instant commander.
I'm thinking sorcery commanders in like 2 years' time. You heard it here first, folks.
Oh god, please don't.
In Return to Theros, they're going to start including instant and sorcery creatures.
Actually, I suppose you could have one of the. Is there a Golgari Planeswalker commander that you can run with this?
There's Lord Windgrace who has black green plus.
He's Jund.
Red?
Yeah, he's a Jund commander.
That seems bad. Old Jund Planeswalker commander deck.
I was gonna say because Lord Windgrace is a lands matter deck. I mean, you could do it. I mean, you absolutely could do it. You just have to end up playing every single Planeswalker that happens to be in Jund colors probably just goes in your deck.
Yeah, but then you can't run like anything that puts like lands into your graveyard or any sorceries that sack them or anything like that.
Fetch lands. It'll just be a really expensive. To be fair, there are some quite cheap fetch lands that aren't the fetch lands.
Yeah, you played the slow fetch lands, the comes and tapped ones.
Yeah, or you play the ones where it's like 2 tap, go looking for 1 or stuff like that. It's like you probably could do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you couldn't do it. I'm just saying you probably shouldn't do it.
Well, that's the best thing about Commander, right?
What the difference between should and could. It's like my first ever Commander deck was a 5-color Allies Commander deck. You can absolutely make General Tazri as a Commander deck. You shouldn't.
No.
If you happen to have General Tazri as a commander deck, more power to you. But at the same time, I have many other 5-color commanders I can introduce you to.
Yeah, it uses the same mana base and everything.
Going wildly off track here, just quickly. I'm not even joking here. I got my Slithers commander deck up and running a few months ago. And I realized the problem with Magic suddenly, where I went, okay, I've got my Slivers commander deck, and then my brain went, no, you don't. You haven't got any of the lands, dingus. And I looked down and realized that I just had 60 odd creatures an instance, and I just went, bollocks.
So what you're trying to tell us here, Hugh, is that you're suddenly in the market for all 10 original Jewel lands.
My brain went, okay, what are the options here? And I went, okay, option 1, nothing but basic lands. And I went, that's a terrible idea, but do go on. Option 2, spend a lot of money on a 5-color land base. Option 3, I haven't used 5-color dragons in a while, and it's been looking at me funny. So dragons got cannibalized about as badly as I've ever cannibalized a deck.
Oh boy!
I nicked the entire thing. I nicked the entire thing, and then I looked back down at it and went, do I really need to play actual fetch lands in Commander? And so then I cannibalized the fetch lands for Modern. And I've realized that this is now something I do, and I've started getting a bit too into cannibalizing decks because I was like, yesterday I was rebuilding and putting together and making sure modern decks were all ready for when this is all over and I finally get to get my fix again. And I opened up Burn and I was like, where the hell is my land base? And I realized that I'd cannibalized my land base for Burn in Jund.
Yeah.
And then when I took the mountains out of Jund because I started getting good lands for it, I then put them into a janky Boros equipment deck.
Oh god, the bloody Cheerios.
No, my Colossal Hammer one that never worked.
Oh, that one. Yeah. It's not quite the same thing, but like, do you not disassemble decks? Is it just me who disassembles decks?
I do occasionally, but not often. Because the problem, I think I can see your problem already, Will, in that you have a very specific color identity that you use, which is Jeskai or bust. Which means the moment you want to build a new deck, your brain goes, well, I've already got the cryptic commands. And you just reach over to your Jeskai copycat deck and steal them delicately from the deck.
It's actually worse than that. It's like I only own 3 Teferi Time Ravelers and 2 Snapcaster Mages and a certain number of Steam Vents and stuff like that. So every time I want to play Canadian Highlander, I have to take 1 of each of my cards out of my modern deck.
Oh no.
And so I ended up with partially disassembled decks all over my house. It drives my housemate and my girlfriend spare. So occasionally, I just get all my cards, I put them in a big pile on my coffee table,
and you roll around in them.
Yes, it's decadent. No, I take them all out of the sleeves, put the sleeves in nice
doesn't resolve.
Put the sleeves in nice neat piles, put them in boxes, and put them all ordered back in my Canadian Highlander deck building folder. And it's the most satisfying thing ever.
Yeah.
I know I do similar, but God, you're sad.
Look, there's not a lot to do in the coronavirus times. And my internet went out for 4 days.
Dude, I realized I had a Magic addiction when the online Magic store that I use came back online 2 days ago. The moment they came back online, my brain went, why not? Why shouldn't I buy 2 more fetch lands?
Oh my god, you've been doing the exact same thing I have.
Good. I'm glad. Are you the person who's been taking my goddamn blooded strands?
Okay, I need 2 more flooded strands, but that's not me because I don't think we use the same website.
There we go. No, I was it was literally like Bilbo Baggins with the ring. It was like, why not? Why shouldn't I buy?
Why shouldn't I take it?
Why shouldn't I buy fetch lands? So I bought 2 Gruul fetch lands to go in Jund, and I'm like, yes, finally, now I have on color fetch lands.
God.
It turns out when you're running a Jund deck, running a Scalding Tarn, it makes people look at you funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can fetch any of my 3 colors with this, and but that's not how this should work.
I tend to find it doesn't make that much of the difference. I played off-color fetches in Jeskai, which is a lot more color intensive than, or at least I find it a lot more color intensive than Jund, particularly if you're trying to hit cryptic command.
I was going to say you need 3 blue for that.
Yeah,
so that will be a problem.
Yeah, you also need double pips for a lot of stuff. So I'm a big fan of running Logic Knot, and that's double blue pip.
I forgot it's double blue and not just blue.
Yeah. Well, it's counterspell essentially.
God, if I didn't have Delve, sorry, that'll be garbage.
So I tend to find playing off color fetches isn't the worst in tricolored decks.
Yeah, I'm kind of fine with it. I know that if I ever go to a GP and have to play, the big event, I'm probably at that's the point where I probably kind of, swallow my pride and go and get the proper on color fetches. But
Also, wait, hold on. I've just realized something.
Go on.
Can't you trade a Scalding Tarn for 2 1 color fetches? Because Scalding Tarn's ridiculously expensive.
Not as expensive as it used to be. It peaked at like 100 quid at one point. It's down to like 60 now.
You can
But
still
yeah.
get a lot of Bloodstained Myers for that.
I could get at least 3 of them, I think.
I would go for 4 if you are tactical about it.
I'm not tactical about it. Look,
Standing.
I guess you got to find someone with 4 Bloodstained Myers as well, right?
Not as difficult as you might suspect.
collectors
Yeah.
and GPs, man. Like, it's a thing. Anyway, back to the ooze.
Oh yeah, the ooze. Yeah, that's
The ooze.
Can I say, when I saw Umori the Collector, do you know what my brain genuinely went?
Go on.
Oh my god, I can do ooze tribal properly now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, totally.
Because this is now the 3rd ooze. So I can play 3 color ooze tribal. Because you play Umori the Collector, you play Biogenic Ooze,
Yeah.
which is essentially a ooze lord.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you play what's pod on legs?
Oh, Fiend Hunter. No, Fiend Creator.
No. From Ravnica, the Simic one.
Oh, Vanifar.
Vanifar.
That's it. And Vanifar is an elf ooze.
She's an elf ooze.
She's an elf ooze. She's an ooze. So that's
She's
there
an
you go.
ooze.
There you go. That's 12 ooze creatures already.
And already, Umori's 1 less mana than Biogenic Ooze, right?
Absolutely. So which means 2 things. Number 1, I can potentially do ooze tribal in standard, and number 2, ooze tribal is definitely on in modern now.
Once again, Hugh, there is a difference between can and should.
I want to be able to put +1/+1 counters on all the oozes.
Okay, Hugh, I'm going to seriously recommend this. Okay, you are going to start this deck by putting down 4 scavenging oozers. Yeah, in
That's
a little
right.
pile. Yeah, and then you're going to stop building this deck and start building Junt instead.
I'm realizing now that that my ooze tribal deck would require me to buy another playset of scavenging ooze, and at the end of the day, I don't think that's the worst purchase. Thank you, Will, for allowing me to build the deck of my dreams.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear.
Ugh.
But yeah, regardless, that was my most interesting pick.
Yeah, that's a good
what about
one.
yeah?
You'll begin to notice this through all of our picks. We all happen to have picked companions.
Yeah.
Dude, I love Pokemon. Joke
So
everyone's
what was yours,
making.
Hugh?
Do you really want to know? It's the card that's been breaking Magic online.
Hugh, I'm already judging you.
Yes, yeah, mate. You're a level 1 judge. You can't see it. I'm trying to dab, but my microphone's right in front of me, so I can't really do it well. So my one is, and I still can't pronounce it correctly, Gruda, Doom of Depths. I don't understand why it's not Doom of the Depths. In fact, the fact that it isn't Doom of the Depths actively annoys me.
Yeah, I don't get that.
No.
Is it the Doom of the Depths?
No, it's
just
Gruda,
off.
Doom of Depths.
So it stops depths from existing,
Yeah.
or it eats
It
depth.
hunts them.
Yeah, it fights the depths, but then the card shows it on the surface. Anyway, it's
I feel like we've said depths enough times now that I don't know what it means anymore.
No, he's
No.
completely lost the meaning.
Dude, do that with flannel. No, say flannel like 6 times and it will start to lose meaning.
God.
Like flannel, 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 flannel. See? You just anyway.
Hugh, I've got a question for you.
Go on.
Hugh, can you even?
I have no idea what he's trying to do.
Because you can only play even cards. So can you even?
Oh, right.
I can't even.
Funny joke.
You, Hugh.
Look, come on, man.
Oh boy.
I've been stuck inside for 5.5 weeks. Give me a break.
This is the quality content that people came here to see.
Yeah, this is the quality content our X many subscribers come from. Anyway, Gruda Doom of the Depths. Its companion is that you have to have all even mana costed cards. Thank you, Will, for reminding me. It's 4 and 2 hybrid Dimir. I also didn't expect me to ever play a Dimir card, but here we go. It's a 6/6. Bit we care about is when it enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, and you put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield under your control. Reason why I like Gruda. Turns out this and Spark Double make games
Insane.
stupid.
Yeah.
So I'm currently playing Gruder in standard. Turns out the standard version is about as powerful as the other versions. Not quite as powerful as like Legacy, but still pretty damn powerful because it is Spark Double that helps it out here. Because you essentially just play a load of ramp, 4 Spark Doubles, 3 extra Gruders in the main board, a couple of Charming Princes so that you can exile it, a couple of Thassers, the new one, so you can exile it as well, and a couple of like pieces just to, you know, like maybe to fight the things that you really don't want to have to deal with, or you know, maybe the standard version of Kratos Behemoth, whose name escapes me, and raise end Forerunners. And it makes me feel like a mid-season Yu-Gi-Oh villain because I'm absolutely the bad guy when I play this deck.
Yeah, so that I played against this deck a couple of times, and I don't like saying this because I generally find it's an excuse for bad players, but this deck does seem to be a bit. You get to 6 mana, you slam this, and then it's kind of autopilot to win.
Absolutely.
Like, it doesn't seem very skill intensive.
It can be skill intensive, but it depends. It's like Burn for the most part. You're just doing what you need to do. Like it's essentially the deck boils down to you play Gruder, you exile 4, and you hope you either hit another Gruder or a Spark Double. Rinse, repeat. If you don't hit one, you hope that you hit a Thassa so that you can repeat and do it again.
Or a Charming Prince or something like that.
Yeah, or a Charming Prince. Or I play the butterfly, not the moth.
Yeah, I've seen that as a fairly standard.
Oh, the moth.
Yeah, the thing that when your creatures die, if they don't have flying, they come back with flying. Because then you can just throw this thing under big creatures and it just comes back. And it comes back. Yeah, it comes back harder to deal with. Yeah, the thing about Gruder is I thought the Gruder was going to be the problem companion when I saw it, because I saw like first day, okay, it's banned on Magic Online. And it turns out, as you've said, the only reason it's banned on Magic Online is because Magic Online doesn't quite understand how to deal with its effect, because the effect does not require the cards to still be in the graveyard.
Yeah, it was a programming issue from what I understand, like somebody programmed the card wrong.
Yeah, so it's a bit strange. Gruder has seen play in Legacy, Modern, and Standard. Because in Legacy, I've seen it go off turn 1 or 2, which is insane.
The important part of Legacy, is 0 is considered even by the game of Magic.
So you can play Lotus Petals and Lion's Eye Diamond.
Lion's Eye Diamond's the big one.
So yeah, it's a companion, which means you don't have to have anything in hand. You just you just crap out 6 mana, sack your Lion's Eye Diamond, and go to town.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the Legacy deck does with it to win. I'm not sure if it's a Storm variant. If you're playing Lion's Eye Diamond, it's normally pretty hot that you're either a Storm variant or some form of Belcher. It's turned up in Modern and Legacy. I don't think it's making any and Pioneer, no doubt, but I don't think it's making anywhere near the impact.
No.
Among Us Legacy, that isn't standard. In fact, I know it's not.
I think the thing that it does in Legacy is you play a lot of cards. You play Spark Doubles and Imposters and stuff like that. But I think you also play stuff like Dragon Lord Colligan, which just gives all your creatures haste.
No, you get all the clones, don't you? Because you get
Phyrexian Metamorph and Phantasmal Image. Yeah, and
the legendary one.
Yeah, well, Sakama the Imposter, because you can copy another legendary and it's technically you're not technically, it's weird.
Yeah.
But the idea is you just crap them all out onto the board and then just swing and immediately turn 1. And whether or not it actually work is a completely different matter. But I know that in Standard it's a thing. And I'm one of the bad guys that are propagating it to make it a thing, but it's definitely a thing.
So can I just ask a question here? Have you been playing this in best of 1 or in best of 3?
Because I'm a mid-season, Yu-Gi-Oh villain and not a late season Yu-Gi-Oh villain. I've only been playing it in best of 1 because if I play it in best of 3, people sideboard Grafdigger's Cage and I cry.
So this I think this has been an interesting. I think how big Gruda's been in Standard has been an interesting kind of corner case of the fact that we're all locked indoors.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the one game and done thing because Gruda has like a something stupid like a 60% win rate to turn 1.
Yeah, like game 1. This is an uninteractive pile of cards that is incredibly frustrating to beat. In best of 3, where you've got sideboard or people have built their decks so they don't have to have so many sideboard cards essentially already in their deck, I have heard it becomes an awful lot more dealable with. Simply because you're right, Grafdigger's Cage hoses this card.
Grafdigger's Cage and I was going to say Wishbringer. That's not the one. It's the 2 Hushbringer. Yeah. I had someone play Hushbringer against me turn 2, and I couldn't deal with it literally at all because the deck doesn't play removal spells. Its removal spell is in the form of 2 copies of the new ape that when it enters the battlefield it fights. Do you know what Do you know what happens when Hushbringer's out? You can't fight because it's an enter the battlefield goddamn effect. So that Hushbringer just sits there middle fingering you the entire time.
So Hugh, I'm just going to throw this out, right?
Go on.
Okay. Do you know what this might be the time for?
Me to retire the deck as undefeated champion.
Well, I mean, yes, you should because you're a bad person.
I'm not. This has got me all the way to platinum. Thank you very much.
But do you know what might be quite good against this deck?
Literally anything.
5-color Hushbring Titans.
I try to build 5-color Hushbring Titans and it doesn't work.
But it doesn't matter because, like, whenever you play against this deck, which feels like some ungodly amount of meta, you just slam a turn 2 Hushbringer in 1v1 and see them scoop.
You're right. Then the jank. It doesn't matter that you're jank because their jank doesn't work anymore.
Exactly.
Dude, I've got 2 Hushbringer Titan variants, and neither of them work as well as just putting Titans in their respective decks. Like, it's really nice to play a turn 3 Titan. It doesn't work as well as you think it does. I've maybe got a turn 3 Uro. Sorry, not a turn 3 Uro. I've maybe got a turn 3 Croxer once. It's not a thing. It's just not a thing.
Okay, fair.
I would like to point out when I'm not playing Gruda, I do play both of the Titans in different decks. So even like my last set's happy cards that I play both of them quite frivolously in Standard.
I mean, they're just good, right?
If I would also like to make a quick PSA in Standard, I'm aware that I'm the bad guy here, but Standard, if we could stop stealing each other's creatures, I'd be really thankful.
Oh, Agent of Treachery can go die in a fire.
Agent of Treachery and the Rakdos Sacrifice deck that plays Claim the Firstborn and then immediately sacks it to one of its sack outlets genuinely makes me angry. I'm like, haha, you'll never get away with it. I'm going to take that 3-drop you've got and I'm just going to sacrifice it to get myself a food token. And I'm like, I fucking hate this.
Do you know what's hilarious, though? Like
flickering Agent of Treachery with a Thassa so you get 2 things in the turn.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. I may have tilted out of game after that happened. After they started stealing my enchantments.
I may also play that. I know I'm the bad guy.
But like when M20 came out, or it is M20 that Agent of Treachery is from.
It is.
It was.
I would have told you with no uncertain terms that Agent of Treachery was stone cold unplayable. I'm not quite sure how we got to this area.
I'm the exact same, because it turns out a 7-mana 2/3 that gets control of one thing doesn't sound good. Especially when you've got like 4-mana sorceries that do it. It just doesn't sound good enough, does it?
No.
In Bolos's Clutches is 6 mana, so it's 1 less. It's just
Yeah.
It's just I completely agree with you. I think the thing about Agent of Treachery that makes it broken is not the card itself, but the way that people play it. Because the two different ways that I see it played at the moment are in Simic value decks, where it gets exiled and brought back by Thassa. So you get two things on your first turn and one thing on each turn thereafter, unless someone can deal with it. And number two, there is the current standard deck, which is Boros Humans, and you've got the 4-drop human. When it attacks, you get to reveal and put a human down or something along those lines. I can't remember.
Whenever you attack with a non-human creature, you get to look at the top 6 and put a human into play, taps and attacking.
That's the one, and the whole idea is you literally play that turn 4, swing with something non-human, get an Edge to Treachery, go. And I think that's where Edge to Treachery, like most of the high-cost cards in Magic's history, it gets broken when people cheat it out.
Mm.
I've got no problem with someone playing a 7-mana card for 7 mana at all.
Oh, absolutely not.
It's like complaining when someone plays Omniscience for 10 mana. It's like, come on, they got to 10 mana. I think they're allowed this.
Yeah, you managed to play 10 lands. Congratulations. You deserve to win the game because I should have killed you quicker.
No, exactly. But yeah, Gruder's a fun little card that I am genuinely enjoying playing it in standard, even though I know that I probably shouldn't.
So here's an interesting question then. Do you think it will get banned in best of 1? Not best of 3, because I think there's too many answers in there, and I don't think it's going to get banned anywhere else. It's not going to get banned in Legacy or Monophone. But specifically in best of 1, because they have banned stuff just in standard best of 1 before. Do you think it's good enough to get banned?
No, I'll be honest.
No?
I've been playing this for like the last week and a bit. Like I've been playing it a lot, and I've played it against pretty much every top tier standard deck out there. And most of the top tier standard decks, even if I go off, usually are pretty good at dealing with it. So, you know, Simic Ramp just plays equally big things about the same time you're playing equally big things.
Mm.
The Rakdos sacrifice decks are, you know, will just make you sacrifice things, and it just kind of gets away with it. Aristocrats just kind of doesn't really care about you having big stuff because it just throws small stuff underneath the bus and laughs in your inherent, you know, failure. And the Gruder mirror matches just end in someone getting decked out. I also the most fun I've had in standard for a while is playing Gruder mirror matches. Oh my god, is it funny to watch? It's two people staring at each other across the table and desperately hoping they go second. Because if you go first in the Gruder matchup, the likelihood is you're gonna fizzle at some point. So like you might like get 6 or 7 versions of Gruder on the battlefield because you're nicking their stuff and your stuff. You fizzle, you've got maybe 20 cards left in library, at which point the person on the opposite side smirks in your general direction, goes off not even as much as you've just gone off, but just mills you, and then goes past the turn, and there's a nice little explosion when someone loses the game. And I've never seen a deck that's like, I want to go second as badly as Kruder in the mirror match.
Oh my god, it's not a May.
No, it's not. That's the problem.
I did not read that right. Also, me and you need to have a talk about Manaless Dredge at some point to say going second. But
there we go. But no, it's not May. So literally, the whole idea is you literally force them to draw, and so you as a player, you're like, they're just going to keep drawing me out like forever. It's just you either have to stop your own combo and hope they don't combo, or you have to kill them before it happens. They're like 5-turn games. It's hilarious.
It's brilliant.
I'm guessing you don't have a lot of ways of terminating your own combo then, because like
you can if you happen to draw a mana dork and a continuation of the combo, but if you just draw a combo piece, you have to.
Yeah, because you're playing like 3 Gruder, presumably Thor Thassas, or charming princes and 4 spark doubles, right?
It depends on how much, like on how constant you want the combo to be. So my version, I only play 2 Thassers and 2 Charming Princes because I then play 2 of the Moth. I play a few kind of like Haymaker cards.
Oh, like Raise End.
Yeah, Raise End Forerunners,
Hmm.
the Titan Ape, and the whatchamacallit, the legendary Hydra that makes all Hydras cost less. You play one of those, just so you've essentially got creatures that, in case of problems, you can just be like, here's value creatures.
Fair.
But
Yeah,
but
nice.
if you want to, you can just make the deck a thing and just be like, yeah, let's just go off properly. But it's just a lot weaker as a result.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's going to get banned in 1-on-1. It's deal withable. It's got a high win rate, but I don't think it's a high enough win rate for it to be to be banned. Especially considering, like, I think it's the one thing about companion decks, and I think it's the one thing that a lot of people kind of are forgetting. Because you know the companion is there, you can plan for it.
Yeah, you essentially give the game away before the game starts.
No, exactly. It's not like you hit turn 4 and then your opponent's like, do they have Gruder or do they not have Gruder? It's like, I know they have it. So let's, they're playing all their ramp spells. Am I going to counter any of their ramp spells? No, I'm going to wait until they play Gruder, and that's the thing that gets countered.
Mm.
But no, when you've got an expensive commander and you have to put all a companion, sorry, you have to put all your resources into it. It's a lot more fragile than people probably quite realize.
So apparently that is the most effective way of stopping the deck. I can't remember who it was on Twitter. It might have been LSV or something, and he was talking about it. And he was saying basically the most effective way of beating that deck is to keep them off mana.
Yeah.
So if you never reach 6 mana, that deck does stone cold nothing. So you either want to aggro them out or kill their lands.
It does one thing, and that's play the occasional Brood Moth and hope.
Yeah.
The amount of games where I've just kind of been sat there playing lands, like I desperately try not to tap out my Paradise Druids if I don't have to.
Yeah, you don't want to lose hexproof.
I need it to have that hexproof, but there we go. Right. I keep on saying that Gruder is the standard problem. It's not.
Let's talk about what an actual problem is.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not. I joked that this was the problem and it should get banned. This is not the problem, because the problem is a small cat creature, Will.
Yeah, so specifically a cat nightmare, which is very apt, really, about what it's doing. So let's talk about Lurus of the Dream Den.
Can we not?
Which is my card. So I originally wasn't very hot on this card because it's not in a color combination that I associate with being anywhere near good. So Lurus of the Dream Den is 1 Orzhov hybrid, so that's 3 mana for a legendary creature, Cat Nightmare, and its companion cost is each permanent in your starting deck has a converted mana cost of 2 or less. It has lifelink. During each of your turns, you may cast 1 permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard, and it's a 3/2.
I immediately thought when I saw this, I'm not going to want to play this. Why would I want to constrict myself with permanents of 2 mana or less? And then I realized I was dumb when I saw what people were actually doing with it.
So originally I was the same, right? I looked at this and went, okay, cute. Like, it has a home maybe in Modern Burn, but double white's pretty hard for Modern Burn to hit, or it certainly can be. So like if it's into Burn, and then like what would anything else want to do? Is probably not. And I kind of dismissed it. And then Modern and Legacy broke.
What do you mean Storm needed another toy?
So basically what happened is everybody looked at this and went, because as I'm sure you both know, Modern basically, unless you're playing a control deck, Modern basically tops out at 3. And that's where all its most powerful stuff is. So that's where you get your Liliana of the Veils. It's where you get your
You used to get your Okos.
Yeah, you used to get your Okos, you get your Teferi Time Revelers. I swear one of these is not a Planeswalker.
It's below it is where you get your Tarmogoyfs. It's where all of Burn sits beneath. It's where pretty much the entire of Hate Bears sits. It's very rare to see 4 or above unless there's a reason you need 4 or above.
Well, control decks tend to play like 4 and 5 mana Planeswalkers, but that's about it. But everybody basically looked at this card and went, it's not worth cutting your 3 drops. Like in Jund, getting to play this card for free is not worth cutting your Liliana of the Veils.
I think we need to specifically entail that we thought it wasn't worth cutting your 3 drops.
I think
there were specific people who looked at this and went, I've got a plan.
Yeah, lots of people looked at this and went, it's not worth it. It's not worth cutting Huntmaster of the Fells or anything like that. And then somebody went, I can put this in Legacy Storm.
They went, what?
And everyone went, what? Because there's nobody read the permanent part. So if you're playing this in Legacy Storm, where notably the only permanents are normally lands, Lion's Eye Diamonds, and Lotus Petals, you just play this for free in your sideboard, and you get to replay your Lion's Eye Diamonds.
Yeah, turns out being able to sack a Lion's Eye Diamond to get a Lurrus to then play a Lion's Eye Diamond again is just value.
And it also turns out, and do you know where it actually ended up being more popular? It turns out Legacy Delver really doesn't need True Name Nemesis.
I'm genuinely upset that a card that reads protection from target player, a deck can actually look at and go, nah, I'd rather have a cat.
Well, the fact that you can just I think the big thing is this in combination with a new card. So the Sprite Dragon, which is also very cool. That's the 1/1 is for an Izzet, a red blue, with flying and haste, and it gets a +1/+1 counter whenever you cast a non-creature spell.
I've died to that in standard, and I mean just that in standard. They played it on turn 2, and I proceeded to lose.
Yeah, it's really powerful. So it turns out if you just play 4 Delvers, 4 of those, Loris, and normally a couple of either Young Pyromancers or the Dreadhorde Arcanists, and you have Force of Will backup, that will just kill them, and you can just use this to get back anything that they managed to kill.
That's the thing that really gets me about Lurrus, and it's the thing that got me even when it was. Because Lurrus is seeing a lot of play in standard as well. It's seeing a lot of play in either Aristocrats deck or Rakdos Sacrifice are the 2 main ones it's going from. My God, is it an absolute hateful piece where this gets played and everything that you've just spent at X many turns dealing with is suddenly active and available again.
Yeah, no, that's precisely the point. And then people, Delvers are, despite the fact it's just a 1/1 for 1 that turns into a 3/2 with flying for 1, essentially, Delvers are surprisingly hard to deal with in Legacy because you spend all your resources trying to kill it, and they Force of Will it and they daze it, and then they just get it back. So that got people thinking, well, if Delver doesn't need True Name, does Jund need Liliana of the Veil? And does Death Shadow need Gurmag Angler? It turns out no. It turns out no. So basically, Lurrus is seeing play in a lot of modern.
Every format it could possibly see play in. It's Oko has returned in the form of a smoking cat.
It's less of a problem. It's somehow both less and more than a problem than Oko, right? Because these are. It's just the problem is Oko you had to build around it, but when you did build around it, it was incredibly powerful, right?
Oko felt like it was bouncing around formats in that it got banned from one format, so people just shifted it to another format. This is in every format already.
Yeah, so it turns out like lots of decks either incidentally play white or incidentally play black, and you can just kind of slot it in. So like I said, this is a slam dunk in Modern Burn. Modern Burn loves it. Modern, arguably, Boros Burn is the best deck in Modern right now. It turns out you really don't need Liliana of the Veil to make Jund good. So you just rebuying like your Tarmogoyfs off this is insane.
Yeah.
And also importantly, rebuying Ren and 6 off this is really good.
Yeah, someone immediately deals with Ren and 6, you immediately bring back Ren and 6. It's one of the things about companions that make them so universal is the fact that they're not, well, Luris is not one, a black and a white, it's one hybrid mana black-white.
Yeah.
Hybrid mana black-white.
So easy to splash.
You don't have to play white and black to play it. So, for instance, with I'm going back to Garuda, I don't play black in the deck at all. I just play blue and green. So I'm essentially playing a Dimir card, but not in a Dimir deck at all.
Yeah.
It's so easy to cast, and it's a sign that like Burn. It has like a 2 mana base, but he's not good at casting double white stuff.
Not at all.
He can cast this fine. It's notable that like I'm also the happiest little bunny in the universe because between Luris and Sprite Dragon, Delver has made its way back into Modern.
God damn it, really.
And I'm so happy.
I've honestly not been paying attention for Modern, despite the fact I've literally been rebuilding and setting up Modern decks. I thought that thing was dead, and I kind of just hoped.
No, it's back. Between that and Force of Negation, it's back.
If Is It Phoenix makes its way back into Modern next, I swear to God I'm throwing something at people.
I think for now, Is It Phoenix is pretty dead because Is It Phoenix really doesn't benefit from Luris by the fact that you can't play the Phoenixes.
But what I'm saying is, like, if we're seeing the resurgence of dead Modern decks, I just don't want to see Is It Phoenix back. Not because it was hard to deal with, just because I found it super goddamn irritating that people were like, "Look at this cool Modern deck I've made," and I'm like, "You're just casting a 3/2. Like, it's just a 3/2. But I can do it on turn 3. It's a 4-drop. Just play it on turn 4. I hate you. I actively hate you. Sorry. That deck gets under my skin because it was the deck of the month, and it died almost instantaneously the moment Faithless Looting got banned. And it's just like, there we go.
Are you okay? I think Time's game with you. Is It Phoenix was like the best deck in Modern for about a year.
I know, and that's why I hated it. It wasn't as good as everyone was, and yet they still played the bloody thing.
Anyway,
if your deck is propped up on a single sorcery that the moment it gets banned, everyone just shits their pants, then it wasn't as good as you thought it was. Now, was it?
Breathe, Hugh. Breathe.
They shouldn't be selling 5 fetch lands for $400. While I'm angry.
While I'm angry.
Show us on the doll where Faithless Looting touch you. But anyway, Luris is basically very good. It is very good. And the fact that it's also it's a relevant body. So if you're playing a deck with lots of removal, like Jund, like Burn, like Death Shadow, right? A 3/2 is a very good clock. Like, it doesn't seem big, but it is. It's a very good clock. And lifelink is shockingly relevant.
It doesn't need the lifelink. Because when I was playing against it in Standard, and it was like a swing in with the Loris, I'm like, yeah, I'll let that hit me. His life total increased by 3, and I went, hang on a minute, what? What do you mean it's got lifelink?
Exactly.
It's kind of a thing that Wizards seems to have been doing more and more of, I think. They've just been sticking keywords onto cards which, don't feel like they really need keywords.
You can tell how willing they are to stick keywords on things by looking at the 1-drop slot and seeing how many and what keywords make it onto 1-drop creatures. So the one that I think, to me, Healer Hawk, I think is what it's called. Which is a 1/1 for 1 flying lifelink. And I'm thinking, That is just it's. I never would have thought, a few years ago, that I would see a 1/1 flying lifelink. Because I'm like, that's too many keywords on a 1/1. Either make it flying or a lifelink, not both. Or if it is both, it would be it comes into the battlefield, tap.
I'm very curious about how that was your example, where I'm just sat here going, goddamn fucking questing beast.
That was what I was saying.
Yeah, but that's a 4-drop. It's very different.
I swear there's a new line of text on that every time I look on it.
Yeah.
I think I can, at this point, tell you everything that Questing Beast does off by heart, thanks to Standard. It has Vigilance, Haste, and Death Touch. When it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, deal that much damage to target Planeswalker and opponent controls.
Yeah, I hate Questing Beast. I truly hate it.
A quick PSA from Hugh here. When attacking with Questing Beast, please attack the person and not the Planeswalker. I've seen this happen on too many occasions where people have attacked my Planeswalkers. Just hit me. You'll do double the damage.
Build your own double strike.
You'll make me hurt and you'll make me cry.
I mean, so that's kind of one thing that I think it's just fair to say that Wizards have been doing recently. But I guess another question is, how do we feel about Companion in general?
I'm actually very conflicted on it, because I think clearly Lurrus is broken. Or not even broken, but it's too easy to slot into formats that are obsessed with low drop creatures and efficient creatures.
It's a very value card with a surprisingly value companion cost. I think if you look at all of the companions, every single one of them is seeing some play, some more than others. But you look at Lutri. Lutri's banned in Commander because it was an auto include in every Izzet deck that cared about cell slinging. Just okay, well that goes in there now because it's just a Commander deck. Lurrus goes into anything that requires a low drop. And then you've got certain ones like Gruder, where you don't play it in specific decks, but you build the deck around it, because it turns out the companion isn't that hard to deal with.
Yeah.
It turns out having just even cards, that's fine. You can do that.
The cost isn't as bad as maybe they predicted it.
I think that is kind of the problem. I think most of these companions that have ended up seeing a lot of play places are ones where the companion cost is not as hard to hit as Wizards thought it was. I mean, you look at the Azorius one; it has to have at least 20 cards more than the normal amount. Okay, sure, we'll just make it 80 now. I'll just include 20 more value cards. Sure, thank you.
I agree with you. The companion costs aren't the hardest thing in the universe to cost for some of them. The ones that are broken, the companion cost isn't the hardest thing in the universe to us. I think Lurrus and Gruder are actually exceptions to the rule here. And I think it's because I think Gruder is the exception, because I think as soon as people start playing best of 3, I think it'll come down to a normal win rate, and I think it'll be fine and people will stop playing it.
Agree.
I think Lurrus is the exception in Modern and Legacy, because they were basically already playing 2-mana CMC permanents, and permanents go onto the battlefield and off the battlefield so fast in Modern and Legacy, it was a breeding ground. And don't get me wrong here, I think we're bruising for a Lurrus ban in Modern.
It's a very small change to a deck for what amounts to a very, very good addition.
Yes, completely. But and it's interesting that you should bring up the Azorius one, because before
his name escapes me.
Yeah, the Sky Dancer.
I think it's Yoris or something along those lines.
Eurus.
Hang on a minute.
Because Eurus has also been turning up in Modern.
For real?
For real. And I was actually split between talking about Lurrus and talking about the Sky Dancer, because the Sky Dancer decks are actually really cool, right? Because
Dorian,
it's
Sky Nomad.
Dorian, thank you. They're turning up in blue, white, and Jeskai control decks. Because when you play it on 5, you get to flicker all your planeswalkers to reset them, and they're almost old school control decks. Because I saw a control deck that had top 8 at a tournament that was playing Wall of Omens, and I don't think I've seen that in 4 goddamn years. Right?
Finally, someone gets to play Wall of Omens like Magic as Richard Garfield intended.
Yeah, literally.
But that's, and I'm also seeing some very, very interesting, and it also goes very well with Omen of the Sea. But that's, and I've
Don't
also
talk to me about Omen of the Sea.
What's wrong with Omen of the Sea?
I just right. Standard has a problem with specific cards being value and so just becoming auto includes in that color. Omen of the Sea is kind of an auto include in blue decks, and so it's just one of those cards that I'm just sick of seeing. It's not bad, it's a good card. I'm just sick of seeing it.
I love Omen of the Sea, and there's currently a bit of a war going on in Modern about whether you should be playing Omen of the Sea or Serum Visions. And this is the differential, because I've seen these 80 card control decks, and don't get me wrong, in Modern there is a serious penalty to playing 80 cards.
Absolutely.
Right? And so about half the control decks I've been playing the Sky Dancer and doing well, and half of them are traditional 60 card decks that are also doing well. So there's an actual interesting split. I've seen Jeskai copycat decks and Jeskai Jeskai value decks normally playing the green-red companion that cares about double pips, that not having double pips. And also that has been a slam dunk. Niv Mizzet Reborn decks sit very similar to the Niv Mizzet Reborn decks in Pioneer, started coming up in Modern because of those cards. So, do I think Companion is a little bit boring to play against? Yes, because they always have this card in their hand, and it makes for a very samey game experience. In Modern, in particular, there has been a bunch of new decks that have been arisen because of these companion mechanics, and I think if you ban Alurus, you kind of have to ban Alurus because it's currently turning up in about 30 or 40% of decks. That's too much, right? And but if these new decks stick around, I'm excited to see if the 5-color Niv Mizzet deck sticks around. I'm excited to play against some 80-card control decks. Hell, I will probably play that. I'm interested to see if Grixis Delver sticks around. When Lurrus goes, I am very excited to see what Modern's going to look like, and I'm very excited to see what Modern's going to look like with Partner.
I think it's also it's one of those things you have to remember, that these companion cards, you don't have to hit their companion rule or the companion requirement to have them in the deck. This is something I was talking to someone about yesterday, where we were discussing companion, and he said to me, well, the problem is you've got to hit that cost to have them. And I went, well, you don't. You have to hit that cost to have one of them in your companion zone. The rest of them, you just stick them in the deck. If you think that the Sky Nomad really works in your deck, but you don't want to have 80 cards, you don't have to. You just play it in the deck, and it's fine. And I've seen Soul Herder decks using Sky Nomad, and it's fun to just see what's happening. I think the thing about Companion, and I still do think that the Companion mechanic could be broken and is broken in some regards. Having a non-interactable card that's always in your hand that essentially allows you to have one piece of your combo or one piece of your value engine always there and non-interactable could be considered really busted. If one of these companions ended up becoming a real major issue combo piece, that would have seen almost an instantaneous banning. So like Gruda is very close to being a hardcore combo piece until you realize that the Gruda decks can and do quite often whiff. If there was one that was in an infinite combo, you'd never hear the end of it.
That's why they've exiled it. That's why they send the cards to exile.
Yeah, and this is why Lurrus is that card that we kind of have to watch out for, because it's being played in so much and it is always in hand. It's a value card that's always in hand. It's not a card that has a medium-ish ability that is good, but not particularly over the top. It's a card with a really good ability that is always in hand. I do think, though, that the companions will make a good addition to whichever metagame they end up slotting themselves into. They just have to be watched very, very closely. I know exactly why Lutri is banned in Commander, and I'm completely fine with it being banned in Commander, because it essentially is just, a go-to Izzet card. The rest of them, let's see where they go. Let's see where they land. I'm excited to see where it goes, even if I am scared that, someone's going to break it again. But then again, there are certain cards that, you think couldn't be broken until another set comes out and suddenly they get broken again.
Yeah, exactly.
You look at something like Phyrexian Unlife and you think to yourself, that's weird. I bet that's not broken. And then someone walks around and goes, have you tried Ad Nauseam? And then you realize, oh yeah, that's a thing.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm glad that both of you think that the companion will probably be fine in Magic. The thing that I think I'm taking a slightly more pessimistic approach to the whole idea, because I remember this happening in Hearthstone. They tried this start of game kind of effect where you had to fulfill a condition and then you get some kind of benefit. And it made some ridiculously powerful decks, which, got banned and whatever. So it was kind of fine, but then Kibler put out a video that I think explained the issue with these kinds of cards really well. And I don't know if it's going to be the same with these, but I suspect it will. The problem is they make the game way too consistent. And I think we've already kind of seen that in Garuda decks. You always have Garuda in your hand. You always have Lurrus in your hand. Aside from the fact that you're starting with an advantage of having an extra card, you're also never not going to have a really powerful 3-drop that serves your game plan. So the issue is that it makes games far too samey and it makes decks way too consistent. That was the kind of criticism that Kibler put forwards to the Hearthstone team that put these into Hearthstone, and I think the same thing is going to happen here.
I think definitely as well, because you're saying the whole idea of consistency can be a problem when a deck is doing the same thing every single game on the exact same turn. They have banned in the past decks that are just the same every game. I mean, Aetherworks Marvel decks got banned in Standard because everyone was just sick of turn 4 Aetherworks Marvel Ulamog, which was how it went down every single game. It may become that happens with some of these companions. I know that in the vast majority of my Garuda matchups, turn 4, there's Garuda.
So I agree with you, and I that is my main worry with these cards. They will just make competitive Magic boring. My antidote to that, as it were, is lots of, like you were saying, lots of decks, particularly modern, are insanely consistent. Just try playing against like Tron 20 times. Like they may as well have Karn or Ulamog or Wormcoil Engine in their hand every time, because like they effectively all do the same thing, right? And the deck's builds do that. What I would argue is if there is, say, a Skydancer deck, or there is like the Gruul deck, if they're so powerful that they become the best deck in the format, that's going to be really boring. But if these companions make it so those decks become fringe or tier 2, then these decks are just going to get washed out in the rest of the decks. And I can imagine it not being so frustrating. Like, I bet that the Hearthstone, like, it was boring in Hearthstone because everybody was using them and they were the best decks. Like,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and it will just be boring. But that would be my prediction. Like when Lurus is banned, and when Ikoria goes back to being when we start back playing best of three, I think these things will start sorting themselves out. And I really do hope they do start sorting them out, because I think some of these are really cool cards.
Yeah, no, I agree. The idea of having to build around an extra like restriction is a really fun thing to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess the only thing we can really do is wait and see. But I don't know.
I can imagine if your deck relies on the card, I can imagine them being very boring. But for the player, not the person you're playing against. But like something, if your deck doesn't rely on it and it's just playing it for value, like the Sky Dancer in the 80 card modern like control decks, in the end, those decks are still modern control decks, right? You don't need this thing to win. It just happens to be if you get 5 mana or 7 mana and you can play it for value, you do. Like you still have a pretty varied game plan.
If it's part of a combo, if it's a combo piece,
then I can see it being boring.
Much like with all combo decks, they will always win the same way. I've yet to play against a Kiki Jiki deck that has not beaten me by going infinite with Kiki Jiki. I don't think I've ever played a Kiki Jiki deck that's just beaten me with Kiki Beats. Like,
have
just
you not?
doesn't happen. No, I've never happened to me. I know it occasionally does happen when like problems are really happening, but at the end of the day, if you are playing a combo deck, and I think we're very lucky that none of these companions are combo pieces. Because if they were combo pieces, then I think the Hearthstone thing would have become a major problem. It would have been very samey and it would have been very consistent. We've not got that right now. What we've got is a companion that creates a very easy turn one in certain formats, and a companion that is very value in certain formats.
It's an interesting one, and like I do think Lurus is going to get a ban. I don't think you can justify 40% of the modern meta playing Lurus and not think of it as a problem.
Could it potentially be maybe a result of us all being stuck inside on Magic Online and Magic Arena, meaning that people are because this is the only place you can get Ikoria, people are playing lots of Ikoria to show off the new card.
No,
it may be partly to do with that. We'll have to wait and see.
No, I don't think it's that at all. I think it's just too good in modern, where you've got so many 2-drops, and so many of the decks that wouldn't want this have already fallen out of favor. Like Humans has already fallen out of favor. Tron's already fallen out of favor. Eldrazi Tron wasn't doing that brilliantly. What else? Titan's still knocking about.
Titan will always knock about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever happens with these companions, like whether or not we see a Lurus ban, whether or not we see a Gruda ban in standard, whether or not we see 1-on-1 ban, whether or not we see anything, I think companions been. I hate to say the phrase, it's been an interesting thing, or it could be interesting because that's like a nothing sentence, but it has been an experiment to see what new things can be injected into Magic. And I think there were a lot of people that were screaming about it when it first came out because people have seen it in Hearthstone where something similar has happened. A lot of people compared it to Pokemon. A lot of people did that sort of thing. What we can say about it, I think the final thing I want to say about it is that Companion is proof that Wizards wants to try and change Magic in a way that does not fundamentally break what the game's about. Here is a new thing that's slightly different, but still has a general core of what Magic believes in. And if nothing else, I at least applaud that move. I'd rather Magic moved forward and tried to adapt and change and become a bit different and new while still keeping its core, rather than it just relying on nostalgia and never really changing.
I agree with you. I would rather have a turbulent standard and a turbulent modern and then be aggressive with bannings because they're trying to be ambitious, than have to sit through an ungodly number of boring sets because they're worried about power creep. Like, I would much rather than be aggressive with bannings. I would much rather have an Ikoria Lair of Behemoths than an original Theros block.
I would rather have an Ikoria Lair of Behemoths than an Oath of the Gatewatch again.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, original Theros had Minotaurs, so
True, it did.
all right, Sam, calm. All right.
If nothing else, I'm more glad they exist than if they didn't.
I'm glad they exist and sit on and are going to sit on a ban list.
But if you understand what I mean, I'm happier that they exist than if they didn't. Like, if someone said this was something we were thinking about putting into Magic but didn't, I'm happier that they exist at the moment than in that alternative universe where I found out they don't exist in Magic.
So they're still innovating. They're still doing new stuff. Yeah, and I agree. That's definitely a good thing.
No, it is. And on that note, we are going to finish off. We're all going to go back to, well, sitting at the exact same chairs we're all currently sat at because we never move.
Yeah, I fused to mine. It's not good.
I've been playing The Last of Us, and my brain just went, because in The Last of Us, people fuse to walls because of the fungus infection they've got, and in my head I was just like, oh my god, he's turning.
No, it's even worse. I've just bought The Sims.
I did notice you playing. Anyway, before this becomes a gaming and Sims podcast, thank you ever so much for listening. Keep safe, keep sane, and goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, have fun. Bye.